Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of I'll Hang Up and Listen. Sabres lose 3-1 to the first place in the East Boston Bruins. Valiant effort, night and day difference from how they performed against Vegas, but made no difference. You lost 3-1, and you drop your fifth straight. So, a little bit to unpack here. So, Sabres lone goal coming from Tage Thompson, shorthanded. Absolute highlight reel goal. No denying that. The guy, ever since Granato put him at center and Tage essentially learned how big he really is. It's almost like having a unicorn out there in terms of size. Like the guy just, once he lowers that shoulder, and on that play, I was already off my couch. I'm like, the moment he had that angle and he had that extra step, he lowered that shoulder, I knew that puck was in the back of the net. So awesome to see him continue the streak he's been on. He just seems virtually unstoppable. But, individual stats are great and everything. Seeing players on your team, a lot higher than what you're used to seeing in certain rankings. All that aside, it didn't get you 2 points on the score in the standings tonight. And again, you're 0 for 10 in the last 5 games in terms of gaining points, and now you drop below 500 on the season, and you're starting to buy into that old hot start, that Sabres stereotype over the last few years. They have a great October and then just completely shit themselves. And again, they played very well tonight. I won't take that away from them, but you can't, you have Charlie McAvoy, give you 2 literally back-to-back opportunities on the power play. Your power play has been pretty good as of late. You don't score on the power play. You give up one, you give a power play goal to them. I understand the last 2 games you're going against this first and second best team in the NHL, but at the end of the day, like, moral victories, don't give you points in the standings. I'm sick and tired of giving up points to teams who start their backup goalie, their AHL goalie against us. This guy hasn't played in the NHL in a year. Kincaid, and he looked like Dominik Hasek out there, and I'm sick and tired of tweeting that too. Like, it just, like, these goaltenders that, like, we constantly get from the competition. If you want to make a run at the playoffs, you have to beat those teams when they give you those opportunities. Craig Anderson played very, very well tonight. I was a huge advocate of Craig Anderson playing against Vegas, and that's not me saying that I was upset with Comrie, because I don't think Comrie is the reason we lost. But for me, Craig Anderson is more built for the moment. And so, with that Vegas game, I thought he might have met the moment much like he did last year. And then you come back with him tonight and he plays phenomenal. I won't put any of the 3 goals on him. That they have one of the hottest lines in the league: Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak. And, Bergeron put 2 in the back of the net tonight for his 6th and 7th of the year. And that team has looked virtually unstoppable. And not many people saw that coming. I think a lot of people had them pegged to be the team to kind of possibly fall out of a playoff spot in the East. Doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. And they're performing. All four lines are. You saw that tonight. Um, and that's where I think Buffalo, that's what they're building towards. You need four lines that can go out there and be, that can threaten to score every time they're out there. We're not quite there yet. You know, seeing Vinny Hinostroza and Jack Quinn out there, I don't think either of those guys should ever sit again this season. Defensively it looked better. Still some breakdowns with turnovers and whatnot. The Cousins, Paterka, Quinn line looked phenomenal. Skinner, Tuck, and Thompson created chances when they were out there, but you just need those players, those big time players for you to perform in moments like this. And you got to be able to beat an AHL goaltender. You just have to. I don't care how many great chances you had. I don't care how many great saves he made. You got to beat these goaltenders. Like Kinkaid is barely an NHL goaltender. He's again hasn't played in the National in over a year. And you went out there and you couldn't get more than one by him on shorthanded on an unbelievable individual effort from Tage Thompson. You have to score on these goaltenders. I mean, anybody who disagrees with that, I mean, by all means, tell me I'm wrong. You need to be able to score against Keith Kinkaid. It's every single backup goaltender we've been up against this year, you have to be able to score against them consistently and win games when teams give you that opportunity. When the Tampa doesn't start, Vasilevsky, you have to try and take advantage of that. They're giving you their backup goaltender. And I know he has been phenomenal in his career against Buffalo, but at the end of the day, you have to beat those guys. You have to, put yourself in a position to win those games. And Buffalo's not getting respect, and that should piss fans off. It's a nice advantage going in before a puck drop to know that you're getting their backup. But when you're not consistently getting their starters, that's like almost a sign of disrespect that team doesn't respect you enough to put their number one guy in that. So for me, like, take advantage of that and shove it up their hoop. Like, I'm just sick of it, man. I'm sick of seeing these backup goaltenders look like the next coming of Ryan Miller or Dominic Hasek when we play against them. That's just me. But again, it was a valiant effort. Like, I won't deny that. They played very, very well. They had their chances. Kinkaid had to come up big a couple of times. He met the moment. He was given an opportunity, and he thrived on it. And maybe, maybe he's trying to revitalize his NHL career. I mean, obviously that's what he's trying to do. But, of course it happens against Buffalo. Why not? So we have some comments here. Remember 05-06, they fell under 500 beginning of the for a bit too, and legitimately too early. I'm not panicked. I'm not. It's just, I just see opportunities like you were in this game from the start, and you give up 3 unanswered goals. It's frustrating, Matt. It's frustrating. Tage over Jack McDavid. No, I'm not going that far, bud. Not going that far, but I love Tage Thompson. I think that finally, because of Don Granato, he's really, really turned his career around over the last 2 years, and he's worth every penny of that contract. We're paying him. A lot of fans that were like nervous about paying him that much. So he's earning it all. And before I even went live, I'll get the page set up and ready. Before I go live, so people can get into the YouTube room. And sometimes once in a while I'll see a comment. I saw this comment, and before I went live, I was kind of looking back at his history, and I understand being a Sabres homer and stuff and whatnot, and I totally get it. You want to support your team, and so do I. I love this team. Look behind me. Look at this. Like, I love this fucking hockey team, and I just want to win. But again, moral victories aside, you are 0 for 10 of the last 5 games in terms of getting points. You have none. No points. I don't care how great you play tonight. Don't care. Boston was better. They were. Call it puck luck all you want. Call it whatever you want to call it. They were better. There's a reason they're 13-2. 13, maybe 14-2 now. They were better than you, even with their backup goaltender in. You have to score in this league. You have to. Snake bitten or not, you have to score in this league against those teams. You have to play Boston how many times in here? They're in your division. You have to beat them. If you expect to have any chance to be a playoff team, you have to beat them. You have to beat Tampa Bay. You have to beat Montreal. You have to beat Toronto. Like, you have to beat these teams, and you're not. So, I can't remember who we play next. Is it the Maple Leafs? No, it's the Vancouver Canucks. Thank God, a team that also struggles, even though they are also very talented. You can't go into Tuesday night at home against the Vancouver Canucks and lose a 6 straight. That is a must win in my eyes. You have to get this team back on the rails and back into the winning ways. And it's just, I'm done with the moral victories 100%, giving 110%. We had our chances, we just got to, execute. Yeah, man. And you have to start winning games. You have to start getting points, at least getting these teams into overtime and at least getting loser points, for fuck's sakes. But this is the comment I saw. It just made me laugh. I'm sure you are giving us another useless or clueless opinion. Sabres easily could have won this game 3-1, but they didn't. Boston did nothing better than us. They did. They scored, but they get luckier with the puck. That's it. Luck or not, they scored 3 times and we scored once on an unbelievable individual effort from Tage Thompson. Other than that, Boston was better than us tonight. They were better on the power play. They were better at killing penalties. They were better at putting the puck in the net. They were better physically. That's why they're where they are in the standings right now. That's why they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. That's why they're at the top of the division. That's why they're probably 1A, 1B with the Vegas Golden Knights, another team that you just lost to. You have to beat these teams to be a playoff team. You just can't beat the teams below you in the standings, and they're not even always doing that. So I don't want to hear about puck luck. I don't want to hear about, we played great, we deserved to win. But you didn't. You didn't win. You did not win. So at the end of the day, if fans and buts aside, you didn't win. So with that being said, you drop your 5th straight. You're back at home against the Vancouver Canucks on Tuesday, and you're looking at a 6-game losing streak. And it's a good opportunity for Buffalo to go up against Vancouver. I believe we played them on that West Coast trip and won. I want to say, I believe we did. Someone in the comments can remind me of the score of that game, but what are you going to do? So, box score of tonight's game. You have Patrice Bergeron with 2 goals and 4 shots on net. Took a penalty too. Don't normally see that from Patrice Bergeron, the guy who always stays out of the box. DeBrusk with an assist tonight. Brad Marchand getting on the score sheet with 2 points. Nosek and Pasternak with a point each. And then the 3rd goal came from Zabril, however you pronounce that, and Keith Kincaid with 30 saves on the night. 3 of those saves coming on the, when Buffalo had the power play. And even the straight saves at 27. Buffalo, obviously the goal coming from Tage Thompson after a nice, Alex Tuch broke up the play, at the blue line, and the puck scooted out to Tage Thompson, and he lowered his head and skated hard down the ice. And again, highlight reel goal, great individual effort, unassisted goal by Tage Thompson for his 10th of the year, and then Craig Anderson making 27 saves on 30 shots, made a lot of timely saves. He was big for us when we needed him to be. A couple more comments here. How much does getting Samuelsson and Jokiharju back change the course of the season? It seems like it all started when we lost them. Samuelsson more so than Jokiharju. Jokiharju has struggled a lot over the last 365 plus days to be the guy we saw, the potential that we saw when we first traded him for him in that Nylander deal with Chicago. But Samuelsson, you can't deny in terms of a guy who contributes in his own end, does his job, doesn't take any guff in front of the net, clears out the garbage. And, he has a little bit of offensive flair to him too. getting the puck out of his end, starting that transition out of the zone. You know, Samuelsson does a lot for this team, and I truly believe when he gets back and he's healthy, he is going to more than, you know, meet the expectations of that contract. And honestly, that contract is going to be a steal this time next year. I can promise you that, because I think he's that good of a defenseman. Producer Steve pops in. Buddy, if you want to hop in with me, you're more than welcome. Cousins, Peterka, Quinn need to be permanent fixture, full stop. 100%. That line was absolutely on fire tonight. And Jack Quinn just showing why he should be in this lineup every night. And, you know, I've said it, and I'm not saying Casey had a bad game tonight, but, you know, there are certain players on this team that when guys like Matthew Savoy and Yuri Kulik are ready to play, Noah Ostlund are ready to be NHL contributors that are going to be on the chopping block, and Casey's one of them, for sure. You know, his contributions to this team are far and few in between. You know, he had a nice goal against Vegas, but that was also in a losing effort. It was at final score was it 64 or 7-4? And you need guys who are going to consistently help you on the scoreboard, you know, analytics aside, face-off percentage aside. They're not helping you win hockey games. You know, you're 0 for 5 in the last 5. So I don't know. I really don't know what more else to tell you. You know, my clueless opinions. So Skinner is just too invisible. 100% agree. You know, 5-on-5, he over the course of his career, he's always been a phenomenal player. You know, leading into that trade with Buffalo, where we sent Cliff Pooh and a pick to Carolina for Jeff Skinner. He had always been one of the better 5-on-5 scorers in the National Hockey League. And, you know, they need to get him going, you know, whether it's making that line, you know, a permanent line, much like Marchand, Pasternak, and Bergeron. I think you're kind of handcuffed into doing that, but because nothing else has really worked for you over the last 5 games. So with that being said, that can be a very reliable line for you. Whether you're rolling that out right now, your second line. Again, but I'm not in panic mode. Listen, they played well tonight. They did. You know, did they deserve to win? Sure, I'll say that, but you didn't. So I would expect if you play like that against the Vancouver Canucks, you come away with 2 points in regulation, 100%. I'd like to see them give Craig Anderson another start. I think he earned it after tonight's game. I think more importantly, rather than sticking to any type of schedule you have for your goaltenders, I think it's more important to get yourself out of this losing streak. And again, and this is nothing against Eric Comrie, because I think he's been pretty good for Buffalo this year. You know, even some might look at his numbers and think, well, what are you talking about? But, you know, I personally think Comrie has been good to an extent. So we're not like in a Carter Hutton situation with him, where it's like time to panic. This guy is a bust, this, that. The team itself has not been good. So, yep, I agree. Sabres lost after loss, fed up with moral victories. Excuse. I agree. Excuses. Moral victories don't give you 2 points in the standings, man. It's a fact. Skinner looks lost. Agree. Skinner does look very lost out there. So with that being said, I mean, I don't know, you know, what else you can do to shake things up. You put Quinn in, you put Hinostroza in. I'm not sure who sat tonight. Who in the lineup sat tonight? Does anyone know offhand? I'm not too sure. Let's look here at the, you know, see if I notice any names that are missing. Krebs played. I thought, actually, speaking on that, I thought this is probably one of Krebs' better games. He looked confident out there. He was shooting the puck. I think maybe Ray made a comment that you know, he had 3 or 4 shots on net the second period after going 3 games in a row without having a shot on net. Oh, that's you're right. Okposo took a night off. that could be also, some may say for performance, but I'll say this, I'll say this, they'll probably portray it as a veterans night off. Not sure if it was for injury. And excuse me for my ignorance there. I'm not positive on that. Let's look it up right here real quick. Okposo, was it for injury or was it just a kind of like a veterans night off? Yeah, it's considered day to day. So, I don't know what the injury is, but he has been noticeably slower than the rest out there during this losing streak. There have been times where he's possessed the puck and he's trying to transition up ice, and he'll have a step or two on the next closest opponent, and they'll catch up with him right away. That's no secret. Father Time catches up with everybody. And Okposo isn't like some type of unicorn player like Ovechkin, where age doesn't really seem to matter. And Okposo's dealt with a lot of injuries over the course of his career. So, with that being said, it's probably a veterans night off, but Okposo's more of like a fourth line guy for me. Whoever, even though he wears the C, for me, his biggest value to this team right now is what he does for them off the ice and in the locker room. Again, he still has flashes on the ice during games, but sometimes he does hurt this team. And I love Okposo. And I never thought I'd say that a year ago. Producer Steve will tell you that too. I love Okposo and what he's brought to this team over the last year. Since being given the C, the Jack trade, the opportunity to be like a full-fledged leader on this team, even though he's always had that opportunity. But with that being said, again, I don't know what else you can do internally to get out of this rut. And maybe playing against a Vancouver hockey team is just the way to do it. I would think that you have to go into KeyBank Center on Tuesday with the same type of swagger and confidence you had tonight and play this exact game tonight, and you win that hockey game. We got I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Mauricio Arenas Granato is not pushing, motivating his players enough time to bench players. I'm not going to put anything on Granato yet. Here's the thing, who are you scratching right now that needs to be back in this lineup? I think, it'll be addition by subtraction. Sure. With certain players, but I think the one big thing is getting healthy, getting Samuelson back, getting Yoki Haru back, and not having guys like Bryson Fitzgerald and Clegg in your lineup every night. And I was just on board with everybody else. I was really upset they didn't claim Mike Riley at the when he was on waivers, because I think even when those two guys come back for you, he has a guy that still sits in your top six. I think he could have been a valuable player for us. Piers Tuck isn't having the best few games either. Thought he played better tonight, but again, you need a guy like that to be on the score sheet consistently, especially when he was involved in probably the biggest trade in franchise history since who? So you need that. That's the type of guy you need to be on the score sheet consistently. Or contributing offensively in some way, shape, or form consistently. Dwayne, would you primarily blame the loss and not being able to finish scoring opportunities? Absolutely. You scored once shorthanded. You had 3 power play opportunities. You had an AHL goalie in net tonight, not a backup, an AHL goalie. You have to capitalize on those opportunities when given the chance to score. And you just didn't, and Boston did. That's the difference. It's the difference between you and them is they capitalize, they execute. We just haven't been, not for a while now. So 1 second. More from Mauricio Arenas. UPL. I don't agree with that. I'm not that panicked where I'm calling up on UPL, because UPL's numbers have been very modest to mediocre at best in the AHL. So I'm not panicking at all with the goaltending. I think the goaltending has been good enough to win for the most part. it's your ability to put the puck in the net. That's me. I understand wanting to shake things up, but for me, it's not the goaltending, not at all. Bruins have more talent, more depth, more character. Blame Adams and Pagulas. I mean, the Pagulas have been kind of just out of the spotlight ever since Kim's, kind of like mystery medical situation. No one really knows what's going on. So, you're led to believe that Adams really has full control over this team. For the most part, I think he does. I still think he has to answer to ownership to an extent. There are things that, are head scratching decisions that, bug me a little bit, like not claiming a guy like Riley off waivers when he's there, when you're desperately in need of defensemen. That's for sure. That's for sure something that concerns me a little bit. Dwayne, your next podcast will, with that being said, yeah, I do say that a lot. I do. Thanks for the thanks for the laugh, Matt. Appreciate it. You always up. With that being said, puck luck, BS, post after post. Yep, I agree. I agree. And puck luck is just an excuse to me. It is. Sure, luck has something to do with it, but you have to score. You have to score. Boston was able to score on your NHL level starting goaltender tonight. You were not able to score on their AHL goaltender tonight. And that's just been kind of like a consistent trend so far this season. And I apologize. I really do want to see some of the goaltenders they've played against during this 5-game losing streak. I can't remember all the names. But let's take a look here real quick before let's take a look. Let's take a look here. So, Golden Knights, you got Logan Thompson, who technically is their starting goaltender, but it's due to a Robin Leonard injury. So you had Logan Thompson. You scored 4 goals. You scored 4 goals against them. Primarily, sometimes 4 goals is good enough for you to win a hockey game. Before that, the Arizona Coyotes, where you could only score once against. I'm going to butcher his name. I know I'm going to butcher his name. Kirill Vejmelka, a no-name guy, really. I want to take a look at his record this season. He's a 5th-round pick, and he is at 5-3 with a 306 goals against. So, again, probably not a starting level goaltender yet in the NHL, with over 3 goals against average. That's very, very, very below average. And then we go on to previous to that, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and you scored 3 times, which again, you scored 3 times, but you lost to Brian Elliott, another backup goaltender. A guy who's really owned the Sabres over the course of his career. I don't know his exact record against Buffalo, but it's pretty bad. The Carolina Hurricanes, you had, who was the starting goaltender? Antti Ranta, a guy whose numbers this season, a 2.36. So he hasn't been bad, but again, a backup goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes. Before that, it was last time you won a game was November 2nd against Pittsburgh, where you put up 6 goals. I believe that was Detroit was the Tage Thompson hat trick game. So with that being said, I'm going to laugh every time I say that now. When teams give you these opportunities against backup goaltenders, you got to take advantage of it. For me, as a goalie, like, I always view that almost as the team doesn't respect you. Unless it's coming off like a back-to-back, it's like that team doesn't respect you enough to put their starter in. They feel like it's a game where they can rest their number 1 guy, give him a night off, and because it's the Buffalo Sabres. I want this team to look at that and not just be happy because you are getting the backup, and that's a that kind of leans the scales maybe a little bit more in your favor to win a hockey game. But you should it should be feel like it's like a sign of disrespect, like that you're not good enough in their eyes to play against their starter. And we get a lot of backup goalies, and I'm just sick of it, man. I really, really am sick of it. When these teams give you these opportunities, you have to take advantage of it. So I don't know. I don't know who, what line you change, how you shake things up. Again, they played well tonight, but you have to score to win, and you didn't score enough to win tonight against an AHL goaltender. So I guess until Tuesday night, I'll hang up and listen. As always, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. We have a few more comments here. Trying to readjust lineup. We need more secondary scoring. Couldn't agree with you more. You need more scoring out of your bottom six. Dylan Cousins hasn't been on the score sheet. Peyton Krebs. It can't just always be Rasmus Dahlin, Tage Thompson, or even though it hasn't been lately, Alex Tuck, like Victor Olsen. You need these guys to start contributing on a more consistent basis. Jeff Skinner is getting paid $9 million a year, and he's not scoring right now. Maybe he's getting opportunities, but he's not scoring right now. So, Quinn can't score, period. Well, Quinn needs to be given more. He's definitely getting the opportunities, but he needs to not be a healthy scratch. He needs to be out there consistently. So, Asplund looks invisible with Skinner. Asplund's is more of a grinded out type of player. He's a checking line guy. He's an energy guy. Once in a while, he's out there. He'll score a goal for you. And then improved puck management, can't finish, always different excuse. Every game, Granato feeding media spin. I'm assuming you probably just watched the Granato in the media. Again, I mean, you're always going to get cliche answers from the coaches after a loss. I think Granato's a little more detailed and is a little bit more honest with you. So I have a lot of faith in Granato. Maybe you don't, Mauricio, but I do. I think he's the guy that's going to right this ship and eventually break the playoff drought. So that's just my opinion. But with that being said, Matt, I'll hang up and listen until Tuesday. Hopefully, maybe me and Cully can get a podcast ripped out here beforehand. You get Samuelson and Jokiharju back, and you stop getting cute with the puck in their zone and just shoot it. Looks like only Tage does that so far, and look at his stats. Agreed. Again, you got to be able to put the puck in the net. Advanced stats aside, doesn't matter what your expected goals for is. If you're not putting the puck in the net, what does it matter? Doesn't mean shit. I believe I read that when Krebs, Cousins, and Quinn were on the ice tonight together, that they outshot whoever they're out there with. It was like 10-1, which is phenomenal. But you got to be able to score. I'm sorry. It was Cousins, Paterka, and Quinn, not Krebs. But they have to get Krebs going. They have to get Peyton Krebs going because he has been the definition of invisible this season. So those guys are what's going to help you turn the ship around. Those secondary scorers, your Cousins, your Krebs, your Quinn, your Paterka. I understand you're a young hockey team, but you're playing in the NHL and you're not. I don't want to settle for moral victories anymore. I know these fans don't. So you have to start scoring. Your bottom six guys have to start consistently contributing. What's with Cousins letting in so many deflected goals? Enough is enough. Stop being a hero. I don't think that's him being a hero. You're out there trying to block shots. You're trying to prevent chances. Everybody does it. But, sometimes, the puck just hits you. And unluckily, I guess you can call that puck luck. It ends up in the back of your net. I played defense in roller hockey, and I pride myself on blocking shots. It's not always going to happen, but I would rather a guy be willing to lay down in front of a shot or attempt to block a shot than not, in most situations as a goalie. So, that shows that my team is trying hard in front of me and are willing to put their body on the line. So, my dog is absolutely losing his fucking mind outside. I don't know why. So, Okposo needs to retire. Looks old, tired, spent. I don't think he needs to retire quite this second. I think he does have a lot of value on this team, and that's not just me being a biased Sabres fan. It's just how you use him and where you use him, and managing his ice time. He's not a guy that I think should be playing more than 12 minutes a night, whether he has a C on his jersey or not. I think that's just a fact. So again, finally, with that being said, I'll hang up and listen. Remember, this has been brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. Make sure you get over to George Urban Boulevard for your Sabres game night. Bills game day needs. Play the Vikings tomorrow. Hopefully, it looks like Josh Allen is starting after a week of being speculated that he wouldn't play tonight. Hopefully, that's the right decision. You're not putting your franchise $30+ million quarterback's health at risk here for a non-division, non-conference game against the Vikings. Last comment here from Paramount Pictures. We need Ryan Reeves. I like Ryan Reeves. He brings a lot of muscle, but very little goal scoring ability. But I do agree you need players like that. I'm a big Keegan Colasar fan. I would have loved Keegan Colasar when he was available, or if he ever was available. Guys like that, Nick Delorier. I love players like that. So Sabres could use a guy like that. I won't lie. Not because you need somebody to go out there and play with an edge and fight. You need someone that has some edge to him and keeps the other team on their toes when he's out there. So that's just my opinion. What's Krebs' role? Assists, goals, forecheck, finish checks. I think all of that. Krebs needs to be more contributing more on a consistent basis in literally every single one of those categories, and he hasn't been. But I will say this: he was noticeably a very good player out there for them tonight. He is creating chances for himself, for other players. So hopefully that rolls over into Vancouver on Tuesday night, and this kid finally gets back on the score sheet for the first time this season, because he is absolutely snake bitten right now. We need an identity, lack any force strength. I love how involved he is in the comments right now, Mauricio. I appreciate it, bud. I agree. So for the final time, I swear, I promise, I'll hang up and listen. Oh, God, you guys need to stop. But Krebs needs to be a monster savage play, recklessly utilize your height and strength. He's not a big guy. Krebs isn't that big of a guy, so but he does need to play like a monster and a savage. I do agree there. You have to start playing outside. Maybe start playing outside yourself to get on the score sheet. Do things that you're not normally used to doing. Maybe go out there and score Jeff Skinner like goal in front of the net. Just taking a beating in front to knock home a rebound or a loose puck, or have a puck bouncing off you, whatever it takes. So I'll hang up and listen. Remember to get the Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case, over on George Urban Boulevard for all your Sabres game nights and Bills game day needs. I will talk to you guys hopefully before Tuesday on an episode of Two Goalies, One Mic. But if not, I'll see you guys post-game Tuesday night. I'll hang up and listen and enjoy the weekend. Go Sabres.